So you being a reporter from Pakistan to the Hindu, how is it to report Pakistan to the Hindu, which is circulated widely here in the country?
The Hindu is widely respected also in Pakistan. And I think a lot of the reports I did, I used to get instant feedback because everyone knew my email and they would write. With the exception of one person, I think everyone else really liked the stories and they were curious to know what was happening and how I wrote them. And that's also one of the reasons I wrote the book, because the idea was not to the idea was to just share what I had seen, and I was confined to one city, that's the capital city, because of the visa restrictions. But it was something that I felt was worth sharing, because very few Indians get to live in Islamabad other than the diplomats. And my colleagues earlier, for instance, Amit Barua also has written a book. So I think more such books will try to explain and understand that there is a difference between the people, the average people of Pakistan, who and their state, their deep state. And I didn't see everyone walking around with bazookas wanting to bomb India. So they just, like I've written in the book, they're just normal people like us for the most part. But unfortunately, our perception is also colored by the fact that Pakistan is behind most of our terror strikes in India. And for instance, the 26/11, which was, I think, where they held the entire city to ransom. I did cover the trial of 26/11 in Pakistan. It's very different from the way it was covered in India.
Please tell us more about that.
And we had a high security trial, and entry was with biometric identification, and we had a very high profile public prosecutor, Ujjwal Nikam, who would share details of the trial every day with the media. But in Pakistan, it is a very closed door affair. In fact, the special prosecutor, the first one, was killed in the year I went, and I met the new prosecutor, and he was very friendly with me. In fact, they visited India to gather more data, and he came back quite satisfied. But suddenly in January 2014, he said he cannot share any more details of the trial with me, because the media was not allowed to cover the trial. So you have to rely on the public prosecutor or somebody you know. So this man just clammed up suddenly. And also then I realized that he was revealing what was happening in the trial, and some of it was clearly implicating, some of the witness accounts were clearly implicating certain people. So then they suddenly, the defense lawyers were changed. So there is a very different way of, very little transparency in the trial there. Whereas here it was open to the media, it was being covered, discussed. Whereas there it's been dragging on for forever. And I think in the last so many hearings, nothing has happened. So the defense has asked for the trial to be expedited, and one of the key accused is on bail. So you can see that they're not really, I don't know if there's a real commitment to ensuring, though the prosecutor seemed a very dedicated and sincere to, punishing the culprits. I mean, to at least gathering the evidence and getting there. So I think a lot of our perceptions about Pakistan are colored according to what we perceive, or according to various stereotypes. So even when I was there, I met delegations from India who would come and say, oh, Pakistan's got big roads, they have Dunkin' Donuts, as if that's like the hallmark of progress. But, but they have IT parks. So a lot of people were pleasantly surprised when they actually visited and saw that it's not this dark
Dungeon.
It's not in the medieval age, though some of their thinking and some of their belief. I mean, though some of the things that happen are, like for instance, this whole blasphemy issue of blasphemy, and the fact that those who oppose the law are murdered. For instance, in the case of Salman Taseer, and also the fact that they celebrated his killer, Malik Mumtaz Qadri, who was, after a long and absolutely hopeless feeling that nothing would happen, was finally punished. But they have a mosque in his name, you know. So there are these distressing, but there is also a very vibrant uh, uh, citizens community. I mean, it's this, they are protesting against what they see is wrong. And there's a very vibrant human rights. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan is absolutely outstanding in its work and speaking out. They're very bold. Their own lawyers get killed for taking up cases of blasphemy. But there is what most people ask me, is it a failed state? But then they don't take into account this whole civil society, which is kind of keeping the, for instance, now there's a huge discussion over the disappearance of a peace activist, Raza, and he's disappeared. And there are people in India who have worked with him as part of a joint peace campaign. And they're calling for his, you know, they're asking him to be brought back. He's just disappeared. So these are some of the things that are constantly happening. And I think a lot of the stories I did reflected things about social life in Pakistan, which was interesting for me to discover as well as for the people I wrote, I mean, in my paper as well, from the feedback I got.
We congratulate you on your new book, which is going to be released today. And also it is a historic, if I'm not wrong, it's basically tracing the history of cotton in India. Could you talk to us about the book?
Yeah, it's first of all not only my book, it's co-authored by me and Uzrama, who's actually the brain behind the whole thing. She has had extensive work with cotton weavers as part of her tenure with Dastkar Andhra, and she's also in charge of the Malka Trust, which was formed in 2003, which works with handloom weavers to revive, you know, cotton weaving at a decentralized level and make sure that the producers control the process and not some industry. I think we've been working on it for a long time. We've been thinking about it, and I first met her when I was doing research on organic cotton in India, which was published in 2004. So since then, we've been talking about a book which talks of cotton growing, weaving, the history of India's past, where cotton was, you know, for 5,000 years or more was known. Indian fabrics were known, traded the world over. And to the present, where, you know, the whole, especially the important period of colonial rule, where cotton was, Indian cotton underwent a huge change. From short stapled, it became a staple that was suited to the British mills. Then post-independence research, where again our research catered to the mills. And this whole aspect of the weavers since the Industrial Revolution, who were, you know, bereft mostly of their livelihoods. So it's a complex and quite a distressing story of cotton in India, and we've worked it down to the contemporary time where BT cotton was introduced in 2002 and the ways forward with cotton. So a lot of questions we have raised about why are we growing so much cotton? Why is cotton being grown in unsuitable, for instance, cotton is a rain-fed crop. And today we are growing hybrid cotton, which needs lots of water in low rainfall areas. So there's a huge complexity to the situation, which we can't address in a few articles. So, which is why we decided to jointly work on this book. And for us, it's a very important thing to have actually done. And it also links for the first time the connections between weaving, growing, staple lengths of cotton to the Industrial Revolution and the whole denigration of Indian cotton over the years. So today you have hybrid cotton, long staple, which is dominating the cotton fields, whereas at the time of independence, it was Desi cotton, which was 97%.
97%.
And it's historically you have to understand, I mean, people keep saying, oh, cotton farmers are committing suicide, let them stop growing cotton, but you're not understanding why this has come. I'm not saying it's all of the 300,000 or more farmers who've committed suicide are all cotton farmers, but a lot of the suicides are taking place in the cotton areas. And cotton today is become so unsustainable to grow. It's got high, I mean, the costs are just spiraling, you know, and the quality of seeds. And finally, it boils down to the fact that the farmer has absolutely no control over what he or she is doing, because everything is dictated by corporates, by the government. So other than, you know, owning the land or just caring for the crop, everything else he or she is dependent on loans. Seeds are expensive. So there are a lot of issues that we have discussed in the book. It's quite a comprehensive account. Through our eyes, of course. We don't claim to be all-encompassing, but we've discussed a lot of issues that we feel the public should know and debate, more importantly, and understand. And that's why we feel, we're quite glad that it's finally out and it's going to be released today in Delhi, though we've already had 2 releases in Mumbai and in Wardha. Okay. At Sevagram, yeah.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned in.